So, let's start with the riddle. A father and a son were on their sailboat when they encountered a severe storm. Unfortunately, the father was swept overboard by a powerful wave and tragically lost at sea. The Coast Guard rescue boat arrived and brought the son to the nearest hospital. In the operating room, a surgeon came, looked at the young sailor, and said, "I cannot perform surgery on him. He is my son. Who is the surgeon?" If you think that the answer is mother, you are only among 15% of adults who thought that this is the correct answer, because thinking about woman as being a surgeon, it's so abstract to them. Why is this happening? I will reveal the mystery in the next few minutes. But let's start a few words about me. Hello, my name is KAROLINA ŁAGODZKA-DUBIKOWSKA. I'm a psychologist. I'm also a cognitive behavioral psychotherapist. I work as a people senior partner at VirtusLab. Generally, I specialize in business psychology. And my hobby is everything which is connected with water, especially sailing. So let me navigate you today through the topic of unconscious biases and how to use them in your professional career. Why am I doing this? Because even though I'm conducting eye-biasing trainings for technical recruiters in our company, I know that being aware of them doesn't make you less prone to them. So I hope that at least your knowledge can lead to better career outcomes. Anyway, since the training isn't working, I would like to show you a little bit how to hack others' perception. But let's start with a little bit of definitions. So what are cognitive biases? Cognitive biases are mental shortcuts. They affect perception, memory, and decision-making, leading to predictable yet potentially inaccurate judgment. These biases shape our worldview, influencing behavior, beliefs, and decision-making. Why is this happening? Let's meet captain of today's cruise, Captain the Cognitive Miser. The cognitive miser hypothesis suggests that our brain is a miser. So as a miser who doesn't want to spend money, our brain doesn't want to spend too much resources on complicated tasks and decision-making processes, which can lead us to biases and errors and stereotypes. So what are the implications of this hypothesis? Let's start with the sailor's shortcuts, which are effects and heuristics. First of them, it's the easiest one. It's a halo effect. It happens when one positive trait extrapolates on other traits. So, for example, if someone finds someone physically attractive, they might also assume that this person is kind, intelligent, even without direct evidence for those traits. This bias can lead to inaccurate perception by overlooking contradictory information. But good point, it not only have to be physical attractiveness, it also can be kindness, like any positive trait. Totally different effect, working the same but in the opposite direction, is horn effect. It happens when a person one negative trait extrapolate on other characteristic. For example, if someone perceives someone as unfriendly or untrustworthy, then they might also assume that the person is incompetent or unqualified. Again, even without direct information, evidence for those traits. Next heuristic is, I would say, pretty self-explanatory. It's self-fulfilling prophecy. It's a psychological phenomenon where a belief or expectation about a person or situation leads to behavior that cause the belief or expectation to come true. So how does it work? Someone holds a belief or expectation about the person or situation. That belief can be positive or negative. Then, based on that belief or expectation, this person behaves in a way that is consistent with it. This behavior can influence how they interact with others or approach situations. As a result of their behavior, this expected outcomes occurs, thus confirming the initial belief or expectation. It sounds a little bit complicated that way, so I will tell you about one study. So, two psychologists conducted a study where teachers were told that they are having a class of wonderful students. They are not yet wonderful, but they are academic bloomers who are expected to experience significant intellectual growth in the upcoming years. However, those students were, of course, chosen randomly, with no basis for predicting their future academic success. Despite that, by the end of the year, those students showed greater improvement compared to their peers. Why that happened? Because teachers assume that they will be better, so they give them more challenging assignments, offering them more positive feedback, and gave them more opportunities for intellectual growth. So this study demonstrated the power of self-fulfilling prophecy in educational settings. Next heuristic is similarity heuristic. This heuristic tells us how people make judgment based on the similarity between current situations and other situations or people or prototypes. It refers to both people and situations. However, there is also another variant of this heuristic. It's called implicit egotism. So we tend to like people who are similar to us. And when we share the same trait with one person, like date of birth, the name, the university to which we attended. So also studies showed that it was studied in USA, so when your name is Dennis, there is a higher probability that you will become a dentist. Also, there is a significantly more Georges in Georgia and Louises in Louisiana. The next effect is contrast effect. It's easy to imagine because when we compare two items, our judgment of the second item is influenced by the difference between those two. In example, you are, let's say, buying a boat and you see a costly luxury boat first and a moderately priced boat may seem more affordable in comparison, even if it's still relatively more expensive in absolute terms. On the other hand, if you see very inexpensive boat firstly, the moderately priced boat may seem costly than it actually is. It can also happen on a psychophysical level. For example, luggage seems to be heavier if you try to lift light luggage before. Also, there is an experiment you can conduct at home. If you have like 3 bowls of water, you put one hand in the cold water, second one in the hot water, and then put them both in a lukewarm water, the sensation would be totally different for both hands. Unfortunately, it also happened when we watch attractive people on the screens. So there was this experiment where partners were supposed to say how much their partner is attractive after watching some models. Yeah, and unfortunately, the judgment wasn't so nice. But it's also happening not only with our partners, but when we are judging photos of our potential dates. So, watching photos of models before swiping on Tinder. Or you can do this purposely. Okay, the next heuristic is availability heuristic. It's a cognitive bias that operates on the principle that people tend to rely on the information that is readily available to them when making decisions or forming judgments. For example, if someone hears about a plane crash on the news, they might start to believe that air travel is way more dangerous. I think that generally people think that airplanes are more dangerous than car traveling. That's because we hear more in the news about the airplane crashes, and it's very vivid and it's very emotional. So also that's the answer to the riddle. It's the effect that works there. Because when we watch TV shows, etc., we tend to see like surgeons who are men. Also, it happened with programming. I was conducting this unbiasing training once, and a very nice programmist in our company, who is a girl, told me that at the second stage of interview, one candidate, when he saw her, he told her, "Oh, I thought that I have a technical interview today," only because she was a woman. So that's how availability heuristic worked. And anchoring effect, it's the cognitive bias where people rely too heavily on the first piece of information they receive. It has the function of anchor when making decisions. This initial information influences their subsequent judgments, even if the anchor is irrelevant or misleading. So, for example, let's go again to this example. If you are beginning of a conversation about the price of the boat, the seller mentions a high price. That figure becomes an anchor for the buyer, even if the seller later lowers the price. The buyer might still think that the final price is acceptable because it's being compared to the initial high amount. Okay, since we know the rules, the effects, heuristics, Sailor's shortcuts, but before we conquer our waves, we have to know how to get along with the crew. So, principles of influence. It's like the 6 fundamental principles made by Cialdini. And first principle is reciprocity, commitment consistency, social validation, liking friendship, authority, and scarcity. So let's start with reciprocity. I will say in Polish is reguła wzajemności. It's the concept that individuals tend to respond to the actions of others in a manner that mirrors the positive or negative nature of those actions. So it's basically what you give is what you get. It involves a mutual exchange of behaviors and reaction. There was this study about Christmas card in 1974 when a psychologist, Kunz, sent randomly Christmas cards to complete strangers. And actually, he found that so many people felt obliged to answer that he received plenty of Christmas cards back, even from complete strangers. This experiment demonstrates the power of reciprocity. Also, it works in marketing and sales. For example, businesses may offer samples or gifts to customers, creating a sense of indebtedness that increases the likelihood of further purchases. In every culture in the world, the rule of reciprocity works. However, did you know that people who don't return the favor as disliked, which is obvious, but also people who don't allow themselves to return the favor are also disliked? There is an extra variant of this reciprocity rule. It's called reciprocal concession, also known as a door-in-the-face technique. Is persuasion strategy when a person makes a large request that is likely to be refused, then it's followed by the smaller request, and the recipient is more likely to agree to the smaller request after initially refusing the larger one. Okay, next principle is commitment consistency. So people are more likely to commitments they've made, to stick to the commitment they've made, or to be consistent with their past behaviors, beliefs, or values. This principle suggests that once someone commits to something, they are inclined to maintain that commitment. We like people who can commit, who are consistent in their action, because all of us also trying to avoid cognitive dissonance. And there is a study with horse races. Knox and Inkster in 1968 found that people are more confident in predicting horse race outcomes after placing the bet, even though the horse, track, and race remain the same, just after placing a bet. Also, it happens with voting. So if you are asking your friends, hey, are you going to vote? And they say yes, you actually make the behavior most possible to come because they already commit to someone that they are going to vote. Okay, social validation. I think it's the easiest one if you have ability to observe it. It's the tendency of individuals to conform to the actions, beliefs, or attitudes of others in order to feel accepted or approved with the social group. So, example of this social validation. Have you ever been on vacation? When you are going through the new time, usually don't Google every restaurant. You just looking at the restaurant, and when you see a restaurant where are people, you assume that it's a good restaurant, and when there is no one, you probably won't go there because something has to be wrong. Also, this canned laugher or laugh track is also working on this rule. So this people who are laughing when we are watching a TV series, but because when we hear other people laughing, even it's pre-recorded, we are more likely to perceive the content as funny and feel inclined to laugh alone, even though like everyone is saying that they hate it. Yeah, it still works. Also, usually when you see at bartenders in some restaurants, tips jar, there's usually some money, and it's there for making you thinking that someone already tipped. So this can create a sense of social pressure or expectation for you to contribute, as you want to avoid being seen as not following the rule. Okay, another principle is as easily as liking friendship. This principle is based on the idea that we tend to agree to say yes to people we know and like. I've recently said a little bit about who we like. So just to sum up, we like people who look nice, who act nice, who are similar to us, who we see often and in a positive atmosphere, like during brunches or food. That's why a lot of politicians are making those formal dinners and brunches and everything, because we've got this connection between food, which is like basic human need, and with us. So, yeah. And also who we can associate with someone we know and like. Another principle or rule of social influence is authority. So it's easy. It's like individuals tend to comply with requests or commands from someone perceived as having legitimate power, expertise of authority. Those persons can be like parents, teachers, bosses, experts, speakers, influencers. There was this very famous experiment. I think that a part of you may have already heard about it. So there was a participant who is in this image is a teacher, but he's a participant. And there is a student. Student is an actor, but a teacher doesn't know about it. And there is this experimenter. So the participant teacher would witness the student being strapped into the electric chair in the neighboring room, and he and the experimenter would sit on the other side of the wall. The participant teacher was instructed to run through the set of learning tasks with the students. Each time the student got the answer wrong, the experimenter told to turn up the voltage by 1 unit and deliver a shock until the student had achieved the task without errors. There was an instruction that those students are feeling pain. The student was an actor, so he was actually telling that he's feeling, that he experiencing the pain, and also that he has some problems with heart and so on. And he actually begged this teacher, this participant, to stop. But participant would continue because of the power of experimenter. During the trials, all of the participants went up to the least 300 volts. 12% stopped at 300 volts when the first signs of distress by the learner appeared. 65% went up to the highest level of 450 volts, a result that neither the Milgram or other experimentators would think of. Because actually, the design of this study was to try the hypothesis why Holocaust happened. Because people used to say like, yeah, they made me, this was authorities. And he was conducting this study in America just for trials and then to move to the Germany to see if it's actually working there. But the trials went crazy. Okay. Another rule is the scarcity. People place a higher value on things perceived as scarce or limited supply. We know this from the marketing or sales, like limited time offer, only few items left. Marketers can influence consumer behavior and drive sales through this rule. Also, scarcity is well known for coin collectors or any collectors. When the collectors are often drawn to the items that are rare or difficult to find, especially, for example, when the coin has some flaws. That's like the best coin ever. There was also this another experiment. It was with the candy jars. So the participant encountered, there were two groups. One encountered like one jar with like 2 candies, and the other group encountered a jar with full of candies. Actually, it was 2 and 10. And participant constantly rated the candies from the nearly empty jar as more desirable and valuable. So the perceived scarcity led to increasing value and desirable for the candy. And the fun fact is that actually it didn't change the rate of the taste of the candy. It just made them more valuable and desirable. Okay, how can I use all of those effects in professional career? So, let's start our smooth sail through professional career. Since a professional career often requires changing a job, let's think about how we can enhance our chances of being selected. Do you remember the similarity effect and the fact that we like what's already familiar to us? Here comes the referral program. It's not only helping your friends, because they are usually getting money for this, but it also should enlarge your chances for being at least selected for the interview due to social validation and similarity effect. Also, remember about first impression. It's like a crucial part during recruitment. Primacy effect happens in the first contact with the recruiter. So also we tend to remember more from the beginning, and what's more, we like to think that we are correct. So if we made some beliefs, some judgments at the beginning of the process, we like to keep them so we know that we are right, because everyone wants to be right. Okay, another thing is remember to smile. We have mirror neurons. We like smiling. People think they are less stressed when they are smiling, and everyone like other people who are smiling. Also, punctuality. Remember to keep up with deadlines. If you are late, remember it might result in a horn effect. Since we are getting to the applying stage, we've got CV. You already know that people like to make some shortcuts. Think if any recruiter would think that someone can write a clean code if they cannot write a clean CV. Also, I would like to share some tool with you. Maybe you remember that in 2018 there was this scandal by Amazon that their AI tool it was biased, and the AI tool was more likely to reject women. But we can think that other employers know about their mistake and they are not using biased AI tools. But if you would like to just be sure, there is this tool, Gender Decoder. I used it when I was working in talent acquisition team to make our job description unbiased, because during that time in our company, most of the hiring managers were men. So the job description was usually like alpha male language. So we had to change it a little bit, and Gender Decoder is a very nice tool for that. You can also do that with your CV, or just check it. Okay, another thing is recommendations. Recommendations, especially on LinkedIn, can function as a form of social validation. When people receive recommendations or endorsement from others, it can validate their choices and actions, reinforcing their beliefs or decision. So it can play a significant role during the recruitment process. Okay, let's say that you are selected for the interview. 4 things you need to remember. Halo effect, remember, look nice, be nice. Horn effect, be on time. Primacy effect. I've already told you that we remember more from the beginning, but there is also recency effect. We tend to remember more from the ending. So if you get to choose the time you want to be on the interview, try something at the morning or at around 4 p.m. or something. There is a higher chance that you will be, that the recruiters remember you. Okay. Always answer questions. Here, we like reasons. It doesn't have to be a good reason, just reason. So there was this study when one person tried to overtake the queue to the Xero machine. And people were like, oh, I won't give you my place. Like, no, not necessarily. But when those experimenters just said like any stupid reason, like I need to make copies because I have to run some errands or something very general, they were more likely to actually give them a place to the Xero machine. Okay, salary negotiation. Here, remember about anchoring effect. If you, as a candidate, provides a salary expectation that is higher than the market rate, it may anchor the employer perception, feeling them to offer a salary closer to that initial figure. But remember, it has to be a realistic. So when you negotiate, remember the reciprocal concession is working. Also, remember that it works both ways. What's more, when it comes to salary negotiation, you are in extremely good position if you are the first person in the company to be hired on the position. Because when there is a lot of uncertainty and people don't know general information how to judge something, they tend to rely on cues that they already know. So in sales, it's price. Here, it's the salary. So even on like semantic level, we tend to think of cheap things as low quality things. So remember to value yourself. Okay, what to do after rejection? Use the fact that people already feel bad after they rejected you. Like from my experience, no one likes to do that. Really, as I was working in talent acquisition team, I really want to hire those candidates, and rejecting people is not cool, really. So use the fact that people feel already bad that they have to reject you and ask for feedback. If you didn't receive it, ask for it. There is a higher chance that you will get it. Also, if you are recruiting, especially through the recruitment agencies, ask for other opportunities because people probably will share some ideas with you. They know the market. Okay, remember about the similarity effect? If you want to get some free advices on LinkedIn, you can always write to help, but when you are writing to other people, write something like, hey, as for example, Jagiellonian University alumni, can you help me with something? Like the thing that you have in common. Or, hello, as I can see that you are a woman in tech industry, could you help me with that? You have a higher chance to get these free advices. Why is that happening? Because people actually love to help. There was this experiment with elderly people. So researchers placed a small plants in the rooms of some residents in nursing homes. after a period of time, their well-being significantly improved because they had something to take care of. Also, it's shown that elderly people feel way much better when they have opportunity to help their family. It has bigger effect than they are getting help from the family because they feel helpful, useful, etc. To sum up, evolution doesn't work so fast and our brains are, well, a little bit late. And everything suggests that our dependence on heuristics will continue to grow as the number and complexity of stimuli around us increases all the time. So, fake it until you make it actually makes sense in the terms of cognitive biases. And thank you for today's presentation. Do you have...